No, no. But there's nobody above the age.
No, you're not.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
In the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
Hey guys, good morning. Welcome to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television, live here from Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Philip Schwagler. Full press coverage. You got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay columnist, and of course, Mr. Blake Anthony, always breaking it down Monday and Thursday with his film with Buck and Blake Sports, as we're getting you ready for your matchup between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Carolina Panthers. So let's go to you, buddy. What have you seen so far? Because you haven't been out with us here, but what have you seen from this Buccaneer team so far in this early part of the season?
Well, there's one thing. The Buccaneers can stop the run, and that's been real important, especially these first 5 games going against, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, and they had Todd Gurley and stuff like that. So it's really impressive to see going against these elite running backs that they've actually been able to stop them. I mean, held Christian McCaffrey to 53 yards last game. So, and they're really averaging under 100 yards allowed rushing on the field for these running backs. So that's something I'm going to look forward to again today. They really want to win this game. They're going to have to stop Christian McCaffrey, and then they're also going to have to stop Kyle Allen, because he's also a good runner in the pocket also.
Talk about Kyle Allen a little bit here. Blake, 3-0 ever since he's been inserted as the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Of course, the Bucs earlier in the year faced Cam Newton. He looked like not only he was not healthy, but not accurate. What have you seen from Kyle Allen that gives you pause at this point for this team and why they're doing so well at this point?
From what I see from Kyle Allen, he's still a very young quarterback. He likes to get rid of the ball quickly. I think that's part of the game plan and himself. His eyes tend to go down instead of up. He doesn't really look vertical unless he sees a single eye safety, and that's at minimum. But he will take those chances and throw one-on-one balls, as you'll see later on in some clips that we'll talk about later on. But most of the time he's looking for underneath throws to mainly Christian McCaffrey. What surprises me is that he has not looked for his tight end. Greg Olsen has been pretty much non-factor. Yeah. Those 3 games he's played so far.
Right.
And I'm not sure if that's going to change this week, because we tend to struggle a lot against Greg Olsen. But that's Cam Newton's safety blanket. So it seems that Kyle Allen's safety blanket is going to be Christian McCaffrey, putting him on those angle routes and things like that. But look forward to Kyle Allen looking to get rid of the ball very quickly. And if it's not there, he will take a sack.
Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy here. This is a must-win game because the Bucs lose last week 31-24 to the Saints. Now they're 2-3, so they have the opportunity to go into the bye week at 500. But again, it's going to be a tough test with a team that has confidence with a second-year quarterback and Kyle Allen. What do you see in this game at this point?
Well, and wrapping back to both what Phil and Blake said, that, the Panthers' defense is definitely stronger against the pass than the run. And we want to keep that ball out of the Panthers' hands and Kyle Allen, because we don't want to see Christian McCaffrey have too many chances to get off. So, I mean, the fact that also that, the Buccaneer run game is going to be going downhill. We had success. That's where we first saw our run success this season, was against the Panthers on week 2. So I think that plays to our advantage.
Yeah, and I think that's a big-time matchup, and what you're watching is the early edition. You didn't think I would be up early, but we're all here early, live at Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete, whether we want to watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, home of the official watch parties, home and away, a Bucs report in the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Anthony, Philip Schwagler, a full press coverage, great chef, and, of course, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. You look at this matchup with Christian McCaffrey, they hold him under 100 yards of rushing. That has been the story. That has been their MO. Even last week, fellas, they held Alvin Kamara in check. Do you think they can do the same thing? Because there was some breaking news a couple nights ago from Jenna Lane that Shaq Beard has an oblique injury, and Mike Edwards, the rookie starting safety, has a hamstring injury. How will that affect this defense going forward today, in your opinion?
I really don't think it's going to affect it too much. And, both of those guys are going to be active today. We just found out a little while ago on Twitter. So you're still looking at guys like Will Golston. You're still looking at Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea. Those guys are still holding down the middle of the field.
Sure.
And they're doing it very well. I mean, the amount of pressure that Vita Vea can get in the middle and take those double teams and allow Ndamukong Suh to kind of push the pocket and manipulate it for those guys on the outside. The outside linebackers will really get that pressure on the sides of the quarterback or the running back and push the running back into where they want the tackles to happen for the linebackers, all that football skills and stuff that you want to see your defense do. So I don't really think it's going to change much. It's still going to be up to those big guys in the middle.
And the other big story is the fact of the injury situation, Blake, is that the Bucs are going to be without two of their offensive linemen, DeMar Dotson and, of course, Alex Kappa, who was inserted at the beginning of the year. Now you're going to get the opportunity to see Earl Watford and Josh Wells. What's your thought process on that? You still have Gerald McCoy on that defense. You have Brian Burns for the Carolina Panthers. What can the Bucs do today? Max protect, chip with the tight end, and are you concerned at this juncture with losing your whole right side of your line?
Of course, anybody would be concerned losing any type of offensive line. I think Carolina Panthers would say that themselves after playing us in week 2, giving up those astronomical amount of QB hits and sacks in that game. But you're going to good teams find ways to overcome adversity. So you got the right side of your line. So do you run your back out there to chip? Do you run your tight end out there to chip? Absolutely, if it becomes a problem. But are you going to leave your guys out there to figure out can they win their one-on-one battles or not? And I think Arians has said it best. Calling people out, calling people soft and stuff like that. We're going to find out who's soft and who's not. There's always a next man up in this league. And these are the stories why we like the NFL. I said, with somebody coming down with injury, you can find a star that's been sitting there that you have not used or utilized because his name just hasn't been called. So I like these opportunities that people are going to get in injury situations.
Get some tape.
Yep.
Get some tape, and real when the bullets are real,
Yeah, I mean, and you go back to that soft comment. In your opinion, is this on Vernon Hargreaves? Because we talked off air. You said Michael Thomas is going to do that to everybody, but you have to expect more out of Hargreaves as the number one corner, and he really hasn't shown it. I mean, he's had flashes of brilliance.
One true year he's actually played to his coverage.
Right. So,
I mean, it is one game.
Is that calling out by Coach Arians on Vernon Hargreaves, or is that other people in this secondary, or is the secondary as a whole? Because you look at Carlton Davis getting thrown out, helmet-to-helmet shot. Coach Arians says that he's the best corner on this team. So what is Vernon Hargreaves?
In my opinion, Arians is going to challenge these players and challenge his team. I think he called out the entire unit as being soft because they're the ones giving up all these passing yards.
Sure.
So Vernon Hargreaves is just somebody we can pick on this week, but a lot of people are giving up passing yards. The real question is, how do you respond? I said, your coach just called your unit soft. So what are you going to do? You're going to stand there and pout in the corner with your arms folded? Or are you going to come out swinging? Take those penalties. I mean, if you got to put your hands on somebody and not let them get it, then take the defensive holding penalties. I'd rather take that than a 40-yard gain downfield because you're expecting the mercy of a ref to call you for a pass interference penalty. Don't rely on them refs for anything. You come out there and earn everything and get whatever you can get out of that. And that's Vernon Hargreaves' fault, expecting the ref to do his job, and it clearly didn't happen.
For me today, I mean, so far, right, 2019, first-round pick Devin White's been pretty much on the side of a milk carton. And, of course, because he had tonsillitis, the knee injury, he must have had his gallbladder removed. But we get him back today. So even though he's not taking the outside position per se as what Shaq Barrett maybe with the oblique or slowing him down, that's going to give us that added dimension that we haven't seen yet this year. I've been calling for him to get off since the first game when he went out with the knee injury, but I think that today that could be just a dimension of the defense that the Panthers have no tape on that gives us that little bit of an advantage.
Well, Ray, to be honest, I think Kevin Minter has outplayed Devin White from preseason till this game right now. I don't think Devin White has outplayed Kevin Minter till this day.
And I think Kevin Minter knows the system better, so he's flying on the ball. But I think that speed from that 23-year-old Devin White side to side, that's going to be I hate to use it, guys, but that Levante David factor that we have, or not Levante, but Quan, that we haven't seen. Him and David are going to work together in the middle of that defense, and I think that's just an added dimension just to it's got me interested in today's game.
Well, Phil, the fact of the matter is the reason why you draft Devin White in the first place is because of matchups like this. Christian McCaffrey, who's become a big-time weapon, almost in the vein of being an MVP candidate for the Carolina Panthers at this point. So you have to see what you have with White, because he can definitely match up with those running backs out of the backfield. So hopefully he starts today, because what you were told last week is that he was going to start and he didn't see any playing time. So this week, you think you're going to see something from White, and what do you expect from White at this point with all the missed time?
Yeah, I definitely. Bruce Arians did say, last week he wasn't ready. We didn't want to push him into there, and having a short week of practice this week, he said he's all good to go. And more or less, what I'm looking from Devin White, especially going against Christian McCaffrey, is holding down the field east to west, sideline to sideline, making sure the running back doesn't break contain, holding everything in front of you so that your playmakers can make those plays on it. And if Devin White's that playmaker, then he's going to make that play. He's got that speed, he's got that size. What the Buccaneers wanted and why they draft him is, really hold down the middle of that field, So that's what we're looking for today.
And what you're watching right now is the evolution of Sports Talk Television, live here nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. Wake up. It's early in the morning, but it's football time. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Philip Schwegler. Of course, Mr. Blake Anthony in the house, and Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. We'll have Leo Haggerty, the living legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. Want to get some comments here, because thanks a lot for tuning in. We appreciate you fans. And, of course, join the 63,000 following we have here on Facebook. Peter says, what's up? Go Bucs. Everyone, Jeremiah, go Bucs. Jeremiah again. More volume. Is that enough volume for you? I hope it is. Let's see here. Johnny Dean, the professor, is tuned in. I'm looking forward to us stuffing CMC all day long. Calling it now. Big 13 gets 2 touchdowns today. We'll get back to that in a moment, because there were some comments by Jameis Winston. Good morning from Ocala, guys. Long time no talk at this point in the year. Who is your guys' biggest surprises thus far? For me, it's the 49ers leading the NFC West and the Bills being 4-1. Can't say I'm surprised with Cleveland and how they're imploding. Let's talk about that really quick, and then we'll get back to the Bucs.
That at the beginning of the year.
What is your biggest surprise at this point? Is it the 4-0 San Francisco 49ers, who could possibly be 5-0, gentlemen, with Todd Gurley missing today's game? And I told you guys, he's not the same player.
I got something on that.
Okay.
I think this is just my opinion. So you gave Goff this huge contract extension, right? Gurley got his as well. I think Goff was like $120 million, almost $200 million, somewhere around there. Yeah. And we all know, oh Lord, I said we all know that was off the labor of Todd Gurley. That was off the labor of Todd Gurley last year, that astronomical season he had, and then the breakdown of his body coming to the end of the year. So my thing is, I think Todd Gurley is kind of sandbagging to put more pressure on Jared Goff. And you see, with the lack of production in Todd Gurley, Jared Goff leads the league in interceptions. I don't know if you know that.
I think honestly, Gurley is hurt with the knee stuff. I think it came out last year. I think the Rams have been trying to basically hide it and kind of preserve him, Ray Kennedy, to a certain degree, and it has not necessarily worked out. That's why you have Malcolm Brown at this point.
And Darrell Henderson.
Right, Darrell Henderson out of Memphis. All right, let's read some more comments. Are you guys surprised by Cleveland? I mean, Baker Mayfield the other night did not look good versus
sophomore slump. I mean,
didn't I call
are we surprised by
of
that?
the year? I said about halfway through the season.
Well, it was Matt Colson was telling me how great Baker Mayfield was going to be compared to Jameis Winston.
Well, we've seen this before with the Bucs. After coming off that 9-7 season, they got all this hype, and they thought they were going to take that next step forward. And I think that's kind of what's going on in Cleveland. I think it's too much light, too much fan, and on them right now, and they just couldn't, step up to the
They've got
occasion.
more number 1 draft picks. I mean, you give a team that many picks, and then you got Chubb at running back. And the thing it is, Freddie Kitchens, there's been a couple of genius plays this year. We were starting to see his offensive philosophy again, but then there's just been a lot of boneheaded moves. And I'm thinking, if I got the offensive line they have, I'm using the run to set up the pass. I don't care if Baker Mayfield is Jesus Christ back there. I'm going to go ahead and set up where my bread and butter is first, and then make the pass come later. They're doing it the exact opposite, just like Connor used to try to do. Yeah. And they seem lost.
Well, at what point does Todd Monken's, when do they give him a chance to call plays for Cleveland, Because we all know that Freddie Kitchens is calling plays. He said that at the beginning of the year. He's said that in his press conferences. Todd Monken had some pretty decent success here in Tampa with Jameis Winston.
Same thing happened in Tampa with Dirk Cutter. Todd Monken was having success, and then all of a sudden Dirk Cutter decides to call the plays.
And that's it.
So it's like, why do you have an offensive coordinator in the first place? Mm-hmm. So we'll watch Cleveland as I believe they are playing Seattle today, another tough matchup. So we'll see what happens in that. Yeah, I believe so too. All right, what do you guys expect to see from our linebackers' help with the passing game with Devin White back? I'm not sure what to see, but this passing defense has to get better. It has to. So you hope that Devin White is definitely going to be a help instead of a hindrance. Leo Word, maybe that's a Leo Word, to the running back there, because again, that's why you draft him. You hope that there's not blown coverages, because look. You go back to that Carolina Panther game, if not for Cam Newton not being accurate, I think he definitely could hit some passes because there were some wide open receivers, so they missed some opportunities in that first game.
Well, the difference between this quarterback and last one, Cam Newton and Kyle Allen, the option is no longer there anymore. They don't run option with Kyle Allen.
Sure.
So that run factor is out. So they just moved that. Like I was saying earlier, you saw angle routes. Panthers did something that we should have done last week. They took advantage of their opponent's lack of linebacker speed, and they ran those angle routes with Christian McCaffrey and got one-on-ones with slower players in front of him. He ate them alive.
Yeah, right.
And that's the advantage for us and a disadvantage for them. We have faster linebackers. Mm-hmm. So the best thing I could say if I was either one of those linebackers this game is not let Christian McCaffrey get near the middle of the field, catching the ball in stride because he's very dangerous if he's already running. Catch that ball in the flats and use a sideline as defender and bottleneck him where you can make a tackle. That's what I would do as a defender, and that's what I expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to do.
And I think real quick on that matter, when you start to watch the film on the Buccaneers, you watch our secondary and watch the pass defense, there's a lot of, miscommunication, passing this receiver off to a safety or passing this off to your zone cornerbacks and stuff like that. They need to get on the same page today. The linebackers, the defensive backs, whoever's coming in that box to watch those crossing routes or whatnot, they have to know what zones and what players are covering and who's passing off to who. And, possibly that might reduce the amount of yards that this team is giving up every year.
Well, Phil, one thing I always say, and it's hard to see that, and I know Leo's a coach, and he'll probably understand what I'm saying too. And I say this, you really don't pay attention to the game, but when people miss those receivers coming across, the reason that happens is the linebackers and people in coverage are staring at the quarterback instead of looking where the receivers are coming from. That's how come they're getting wide open. They run right behind you. They don't see it because you're too busy peeking back in the backfield. Let the defensive lineman do that job. You got the receivers to cover and the backs out the backfield to cover to be staring at the quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Let's read some more comments here. You called them out for playing soft coverage.
Yep.
He didn't
soft period.
Anyone. You can always go back and look at which players were playing too far off their men. And I definitely think Vernon Hargreaves is that. I just think, again, the style of defense at this point, you want to be aggressive, and yet time and time again, doesn't matter which scheme, who's the constant at this point, it's Hargreaves. Yeah. He has to play better. If he's the number one corner on this team, he has to play better than he has.
Well, we weren't saying that at the beginning of the season. We were saying he made it turn the corner, and then he played Mike Thomas, and he's done. That's what I was saying. That's Mike Thomas.
He's in the defense. He's in his defense that you draft him out of, and he's still struggling at this point.
I still think Carlton Davis is the best corner they have on the team.
He leads the league in penalties as well.
He's an aggressive quarterback. You got to hone that in,
Yeah.
Right. We're going to get off here in a little bit, have your pre-show. We'll have all of us on here, of course, including Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, and, of course, it's Sports Mag. Good morning. I'm up and ready at 7 a.m. for my Bucs. Jason, thanks a lot for tuning in. Johnny Dean, the professor, east-west speed. Devin White is faster, east-west than Mentor. Leo Words, let's go. Let's go. Barrett, Corey Brown, trolling at 1,000. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
I'll give it, man. I got to get a shirt for him.
Bucs, 35-28. Agree. And also this shirt. Would you shut up? There you go. How about that?
Trademark that.
Yes, trademarked. There you go. Bear gets 2 more sacks. Defense gets 2 picks. Evans gets 2 touchdowns. Golson gets 1. Miller makes a statement. That would be Scotty Miller at this point.
I believe it when I see it.
JPP back after
I wasn't going to talk about
the
that
bye
first.
week.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we'll cover that on your pre-show here because we're going to get off. Good morning, guys. It's time. Carolina is playing with the guard and a tackle out today. Very true. We'll get into that more. Why the Bucs have 3 cornerback coaches, youngest defensive backs in the league. Bucs going to lose a rookie quarterback who got undrafted, and Jamel Dean, best defensive back. I don't know what Corey Brown's talking about. Final thoughts on this pre-show because we'll get you back here for the pre-show.
No, I want to see this pass defense today. I want to see something
Secondary,
different that we have seen over the past 5 weeks or so.
Blake Anthony.
Hold it. Everybody's talking about touchdown passes and all an expectation. I'm gonna go different this week. I'm gonna say hold the Panthers under 200 yards passing. That's what I expect.
That'd be a good game.
Big. That's what I want to see this team make a step. And actually, we can get to the quarterback. Well, at least I know one guy can. We can move the ball on the ground. We can definitely throw the ball. We're averaging 34.5 in the past 4 games, 35.4 points per game. So I don't think that's an issue. So I'm expecting under 200 yards passing this game.
Giving up 330.
Yep,
that's
just
under 200. Do better than that. And the last time they gave up less than 200 yards of passing was against the San Francisco 49ers. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, you're out there in the distance. Any final thoughts, my friend? No, you have no final thoughts. All right. So we'll get your pre-show going here in about 5 minutes. Stay tuned here live on Bucs Report. We're live at Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. For Mr. Blake Anthony, for Mr. Philip Schwagler and Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. We'll see you in about 5 minutes live here on Bucs Report on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. See you then.
The Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more. At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
Top of the morning to you. Good morning. Live here from Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Anthony, Buck and Blake Sports. You got Philip Schwagler, full press coverage. You got Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay columnist. And, of course, you got the living legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member.
And for everybody watching, we're playing the 3-2 defense here.
I'm telling you, we are playing the 3-2 defense. Maybe we could do a better job in the secondary than the Bucs did last week.
Oh, boy, I set him up for that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did. And they've got to do a better job because now they've got Kyle Allen for the Carolina Panthers, who's gone 3-0, has a lot of confidence at this point for this Panther team ever since they switched from Cam Newton, a different type of offense, Leo, than when Newton is running it, right?
Oh, absolutely. And the two things that have to happen, no Big Mac. They got to shut down Christian McCaffrey.
Sure.
That's what has to happen. And the second thing is they got to unleash the Shaq.
Unleash the Shaq.
Let's stop blaming the secondary for no sacks.
Yeah.
You do not get pressure on an NFL quarterback, you're getting beat. And that's the bottom line. They've got to get to Allen. If they don't, it's not going to be a good result.
And last week, Blake, versus the New Orleans Saints, they gave up 314 passing yards to Teddy Bridgewater. He basically had all day long. Kyle Allen is a second-year quarterback who's got a lot of confidence. We've seen him throw 4 touchdowns versus the Cardinals, albeit the Cardinals not a great defense, but he could definitely produce. As you know, if you don't get after quarterback and you give him 3 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, basically he's going to pick you apart no matter what quarterback. So at this point, Shaq Barrett, who earlier on in the year had 3 sacks, has to get after it, along with Carl Nassib, Vita Vea, and, of course, Ndamukong Suh, right?
I agree, but I'm not just going to put it – I've said this before, and I'm going to keep on saying it. It can't just be Shaq Barrett. Somebody else has to do their job. Shaq Barrett's been the only one that's been consistent getting after the quarterback, and teams are watching tape and figuring that out. You saw it last week. If it ain't Shaq, it ain't nothing. So if Shaq Barrett wasn't on this team, we would probably be in the lower half of the sacks in the league and getting pressure on the quarterbacks because nobody else has done anything.
Swags, a little bit of concern coming out from Jenna Lane of ESPN. She had a breaking news story. Not only Mike Edwards, the starting safety, has a hamstring injury, but Shaq has an oblique injury. What do you think the effect of that on him today in his play is going to be?
I really don't think it's going to be too much unless it's a lingering thing. They are going to give him the go ahead today. So we'll just have to see. I mean, he's had success against the Carolina Panthers. Let's just hope that the defensive line gives them opportunities to keep stacking up on those sacks there.
The other breaking news story of the week, and we kind of touched upon this on our pre-show, JPP cleared for practice, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. So it certainly looks like at this juncture that you may have JPP back by week 8, right?
Right, and I was off in my assessment last week when I was doing the numbers, and I said, if we win this game or that game, and then JPP comes back, then I think even, regardless of what happens, even today and then next week or after the bye next week in Tennessee, I think that we see JPP come back here, and I think he comes back with a vengeance. The question is, through all the media, how much of that is actually true? Where's he at in his fitness regimen? What's he been able to do in the 6 or the 4 months he's been on the IR, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely. What you're watching right now is the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here nightly on Bucs Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag, along with Mr. Blake Anthony, Philip Schwagler, and, of course, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay columnist. And we're live from Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete with your breakfast burrito, along with salsa and sour cream, seasoned tots, and then, of course, your bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich with, of course, seasoned tots. So we got everything for you.
I just gained
today.
5 pounds. You're talking about that now.
Well, here's the one thing
that.
I know, fellas, with hanging out with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself. We're always going to eat well, and we're hoping we're providing you with the great knowledge that you need here, getting you ready for the Bucs versus the Carolina Panthers. So with JPP coming back, what do you think do you think he can come back by week 8, being cleared for practice? It certainly seems like it. And it certainly seems like Carl Nassib has somewhat been a disappointment because, like Blake said, it's Shaq or nothing at this point. It's got to change.
No. I don't see JPP being a factor at all till December.
Wow.
Understand, you got to get in football shape. You got to get out there and ready to play and ready to hit people. He has not had any of that. Let's say he comes back just to practice next week, okay? Now you got a week. It's going to take 3 or 4 weeks just to get ready for him to play at a high level. So, yeah, I don't expect to see him back on the field until November, and I don't expect to see him being a factor until December.
You got to warm up that vocalizer a little bit.
No, I got it all here. It's my MO.
Let's talk about the offensive line here, Leo. They're going to miss DeMar Dotson. They're going to also miss Alex Kappa, who had a broken arm. You have 2 new starters here with Earl Watford and, of course, Josh Wells. You do some research. Both of these players played together at James Madison, so maybe there's some chemistry, and maybe that's the reason why you pick both of these players up, because of that chemistry. What do you expect to see out of that right side of the offensive line after last week's debacle of 6 sacks versus the Saints?
I expect to see that right side of the line be more interested in the protection than run blocking.
Yeah.
They're going to run left. Let's be honest. They're
Right.
going to run behind people they're comfortable with. Ali Marpet, Donovan Smith. They're hoping to get protection. Look for Winston with a lot of 3-step drops. Throw it quickly. Get rid of it as fast as he can.
Let's talk about Jameis Winston. 13 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Has totally been a different quarterback since game 1. Played well versus Carolina. And he had some comments this week about Mike Evans getting him the ball. 3 targets, 0 catches last week. What do you expect out of Winston in this offense? They have to do a better job than they did last week, right?
I think the whole team, from compared to last week to this week, the Saints had a better game plan for us than we had for them, and it clearly showed. But as always, Winston, give the ball where you think the best matchup is and whatever the coverage is. I'm never going to be a person to say force feed somebody. Yep. If it's there, it's there. Now, if you really want to get Mike the ball, then it's going to have to be Byron Leftwich creating opportunities with him. If they're going to play off, if they're going to play 3 deep, single high safety, then throw him the quick hitch and let him fight for the yards. If you want to throw him a little tunnel screen where you run a trips formation, send the 2 slot receivers up and send them underneath, they get a catch and fight for extra yards, then do it. There's ways to do it. It just all depends on opportunities and what plays you want to call.
You know what, Peter, let me jump in on that.
Yeah, sure.
When you talk about this, what was a total disappointment to me was the coaching staff. You had to figure they're going to take away Evans. The fact that they didn't have plan B to go to as an adjustment,
that's not Winston.
That was unconscionable.
Howard.
I mean, you've got to find a way to get 13 to football, plain and simple.
Yeah, you do. And in the first matchup, Phil, you had Mike Evans, 4 catches, 61 yards. James Bradbury has always been a tough matchup, but they were able to get a deep shot over 40 yards to Evans. So can you see Evans breaking out, or is it the same old where a defense basically brackets coverage to his side where they shut him down and you see Chris Godwin or O.J. Howard? Where is O.J. Howard in this offense at this point?
He's at the Rays game catching baseball.
That was his biggest catch of the year.
He's so excited
he was. A joke, right?
I think the biggest thing for this offense is, like Leo was saying, and like Byron Leftwich had said this week, is he doesn't want Jameis to force feed anybody. He wants Jameis to be able to make the read and put the ball where it needs to be. And I think when you start to take away Mike Evans, you take away Chris Godwin, you got to have Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard. One of those guys has to step up. The Byron Leftwich has to have those plays designed for that 3rd or 4th read or whoever it is to be one of those guys. I mean, O.J. Howard is a matchup hell for anybody, any of those linebackers that he's going to be going against. It's a huge guy. I mean, it's another Mike Evans out there. Realistically, when you look at it, you have to put the ball in that guy's hand, at least throw off the defense a little bit and make him think there's more guys on the field than there really is.
We got Alex Fleming in the house, so it's about to become even more of a full deck here. Live on the Sports Web, the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Leo Hagerly, living legend in the building, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. Blake Anthony of Buck and Blake Sports. Philip Schwegler of Full Press Coverage and Red Flag Podcast. Can't forget that. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay. And, of course, Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavors. Did I get you all? I think I did. The report.
We added a man to the box now. We're playing a 3-3.
Yeah. I'm telling you, we got to get it. We got his lower third, but I can't do it right now. So you know who he is. Alex Fleming here. Fantasy advice and, of course, Fantasy and Flavors, which can be heard here on Thursdays at 2 o'clock.
Peter, can I jump in real quick?
Well, really quick. The
Yeah.
report came out this week about O.J. Howard. In fact, yesterday this came out about him possibly being on the trading block.
Why not?
How much do you believe of O.J. Howard being on the trading block? And is it the Jacksonville Jaguars, possibly with Jalen Ramsey? Could it be the Washington Redskins with Trent Williams? Or could it be somebody else that we haven't talked about at this point? O.J. Howard on the trading block. Good move, bad move?
Great move. He's not being productive with Tampa Bay. And if you can get a starting right tackle instead of OJ at that slot, you got Brait, bring up Tanner Hudson. Trent Williams solidifies that offensive line. It's a good move.
Well, if it's Trent Williams and if the Redskins want to trade Trent Williams, and of course we talked about it last week, Leo, were you surprised by them firing Jay Gruden? They got rid of him 0-5, wasn't on board with Dwayne Haskins, didn't start him. I thought it was a desperation move to start Case Keenum and, of course, Colt McCoy. When you have, again, Haskins as your first-round quarterback, were you surprised by that firing?
No, Jay Gruden orchestrated it. He said, I'm not going to play Haskins, so you're going to get fired. It may be a blessing for him.
Right.
I mean, what's going on in Washington that makes anybody exciting? And the sad thing is, we look at the New England Patriots, everybody's saying, oh, what a great team. Who have they played? I think the record
nobody
is,
at all.
I mean, it's ridiculous
what
how
is the
bad.
NFL doing?
Their division, the division's been like that for the past decade. It's 6 guaranteed wins forever. I said that division has no franchise quarterback than Tom Brady the entire time.
Hey, back to O.J. Howard real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Understand this. Tight ends are not going to be a factor in offense unless you can do 5 or 7 step drops because they got to get behind the linebackers. The Bucs can't do that right now. They're not able to take Winston and get him back there. So that's taking the tight ends out of the offense, and that's huge.
The other part I had to come to realize when I saw that trade, at first there's 2 reactions. The one I look at is like, no, I don't want to get away a young player that's got such talent.
24 years old, he's got all the potential in the world, but if you're not going to use him, you're basically wasting him.
Here's the other part. Everybody was like, oh, he could be the next Jimmy Graham or Gronk Gronkowski, and I had to really think, O.J. Howard doesn't play like them. He doesn't go up in one-on-ones and dominate a corner. Never seen him do it. Never seen him do it at Alabama. I've never seen him do it, period. So I was like, how can he be those guys if he's never done those? Yeah. And he's soft when he goes up for the ball. He gets pushed around by corners, and he doesn't just dominate like he should. So I'm on the fence about that trade right now personally. And, like, he hasn't played to what I thought he could do. Yes, he can run, but when he's in one-on situations, he's not using his size and his strength to dominate people.
Yeah, no, we're running down here. Once again, we're live here at Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. If you get down here, watch the game. We got Buccaneer breakfast with Bucs Report as we're all here. You have breakfast burritos for $8 served with seasoned tots, salsa, and sour cream. And, of course, my favorite, bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich with seasoned tots, which is $7. I'll pay the $7. You know, I'll eat both at this point. Tell you what, we're running down. Hey, man, you know, I'm hungry.
We heard that now.
Yeah, there you go.
Just with veggies and them eggs.
Well, you shut up and be quiet. We got Leo Haggerty with your prediction. We get all the predictions around the table here. Go ahead.
I'm going Bucs again. I think they'll find a way to get to the quarterback, and they'll find a way to get the ball to Mike Evans, and they'll create a couple turnovers. That's key to the football game. I think the Bucs win 31-21.
Blake Anthony.
28-25 Bucs.
Phil.
I'm going to go Buccaneers 35-17.
Nice. All right.
Okay.
Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy.
35-24 Bucs.
All right. There you go, Mr. Alex Fleming.
See, now why do I have to be the bearer of bad news?
Because you're that type
You're not the only
guy.
one. NFL.
I was that last week.
Tampa.
NFL picked us to lose too.
Tottenham Spur, London. It's hot. It's beautiful over there. By the way, they love the Bucs over there. The problem is Carolina's got this guy called Weapon X. Kyle Allen can throw the football unlike Cam Newton, and I expect Gerald McCoy to get some revenge. Now, Winston's going to play well because he plays well against Carolina, but I got the upset, 24-20 Carolina.
All right, there you go. My prediction is Bucs 31-27 over the Carolina Panthers. That Weapon X was shut down. The Bucs are great at stopping the run, not necessarily against the pass. You really can't figure this team out. But it's a must-win game. You go into the week at 3-3. I know I said 4-2. 3-3, you're in good shape coming out of that bye week. So there you go. That's it from here. Get ready for the Carolina Panthers versus.
I'm hungry.
Will you shut up? Versus
Devin White
the
lights
Tampa
up
Bay
Christian McCaffrey.
Buccaneers in London. For the great Leo Haggerty, for Blake Anthony, for Philip Swagler, for Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy and Alex Fleming, I'm your host, Peter Blake. Enjoy the game.
Feed me now.
In the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast. Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
Exactly.
Well, Phil, in this game, first pass, Jameis Winston with an interception. We kind of talked about this point of contention where he was talking about this week getting the ball to Mike Evans, and it seemed like Carolina had that covered up, some missed opportunities with Evans on that deep pass right before the half. But Jameis doesn't look like he's in check right now. Doesn't look like he's it looks like first and foremost Carolina is getting after him with the pressure of the sacks, so he doesn't have the time, but he's trying to do a little bit too much right now.
Well, I mean, he's getting hit. What did I tell you? 13 hits already on his 18 dropbacks. I mean, he's starting to see ghosts out there. He's getting hit pretty much every time he drops back. So Panthers are definitely in his head. He's not able to focus and look downfield. And if you watch him, he's not looking downfield, trying to get to those receivers that are down there because he's so worried about the pass rush.
We talked about Weapon X here. You wrote an article this week on Bucs Report. Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavors. Christian McCaffrey, not a lot of yards on the ground, but a catch there, go in for the touchdown. We talked about Devin White in the matchup. He stiff arms Devin White. Fakes Vernon Hargreaves out of his shoes. He is always a weapon, even though he doesn't have the yards. What do you see out of McCaffrey and the Panthers offense at this point?
I saw Stanford on LSU violence. I saw mismatches because they couldn't keep up with McCaffrey's speed. McCaffrey doesn't have a lot of yards, 33 rushing, 1 reception, 24 yards for the touchdown.
Yep.
PPR monster. Weapon X, he's unbreakable.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Bucs are losing 17-7, but missed opportunities. The Evans pass, you see a good thing with O.J. Howard. They get down, you're able to score a touchdown with Ronald Jones. But besides that, and the reason why, because Ryan Smith, 2 good special teams plays, keeps Carolina down at the 1-yard line and then causes the fumble to give this Bucs offense the short field. But overall, the Bucs have missed opportunities in this game, and once again, it starts with the line. We talked about it. The right side is different, and they're definitely getting after Winston, and that's when the key people are bench the interception machine. Well, look, when you don't have more than 3 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, you're going to do things, and I think Winston is trying to do a little bit too much, but he's also trying to win this game, and you can't win the game when you don't have enough time to throw the ball. You just can't.
That's an easy one. Again, and what's killing Winston is the rush is coming on the side he can see. Yeah. If it was coming off the blind side, he'd be better off, but it's coming right where he's dropping back, and he's looking at it. And you know what? Let's be honest. These guys are backups. They're backups for a reason.
Sure.
And the Bucs have to figure out a way to get the ball out quick. And Mike Evans got to make that catch.
Oh, yeah, definitely needs to make that catch at 14-17 game. at this point, and it takes the breath out of the Carolina Panthers. Instead, they get a chance at a free kick, hopefully trying to get some more points added up. But yeah, it's the same old story with the with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're not protecting your quarterback. Winston's running for his life back there, trying to find receivers who aren't open. They're not open. They're not breaking open. I see any other team when a quarterback buys that much time, they find a way to get open. And I believe that was the only time we went deep was to Mike Evans at the end of expiring the end of the half. And look at that. I was just saying that right before the half. I said we hadn't taken a shot deep.
5 catches for 50 yards. Could have been a lot more. So Evans is getting open. Godwin is getting open. But once again, he's got to be a quarterback, and this is Winston, where it's almost like a Kyle Allen situation. But what's the difference between Kyle Allen and Jameis Winston? They're able to keep him clean in the pocket.
That's the big difference.
Right.
Winston got Watson. For those who don't know, when you get Watson, that means the quarterback gets sacked 5 times in the game. Well, it's the half, and he already took 6 sacks. So Watson, a.k.a. Winston, is seeing ghost. He's been hit 13 times.
18 dropbacks.
Yeah, 11 for 18, 129 yards, 2 interceptions. The fumble, to me, there's a player wide open, Leo. He has to throw the ball there or get rid of it. Once again, trying to do too much at this point. They got to settle him down. I think one of the keys in the half, you got to run the ball. You've got to depend on that running game of Ronald Jones and Peyton Barber to take the pressure off of Winston.
Well, go ahead, Leo.
Yeah, absolutely. They still can keep the game plan in play because it's a 10-point game. Got to get a stop coming out of the gate. Okay?
Big stop, turnover.
You got to get a stop, turnover, whatever. Got to keep, and you got to put points on the board. And a field goal is just as good as a touchdown because now it gets you within a score.
Right. And I agree. And it doesn't even have to be the run. Like I said, I think we underutilize our offense sometimes. You throw a screen pass to O.J. Howard, goes for big. Do the same thing with the backs. Start using these backs and catching ability. Do the same thing. Get them out in open field with one-on-one with their linebackers and corners and try to beat them. If they don't beat them, they don't beat them. But at least you're giving them a chance to beat somebody.
And let's be honest, Carolina's not stupid. No. They're figuring out that, hey, the Bucs can't go deep because they can't protect him. So those corners are pushing up. How do you think Evans gets open at the end?
Let him go.
Look in for going running out. And he just gets lucky and goes up. But, they got to find a way to protect him, even if it keeps a tight end in.
And what you're watching right now, we'll go back to the tight ends in a moment, is your halftime edition of the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television, live here from Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether we watch the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay Rays, or, of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, home of Bucs Report and the evolution of sports talk television. Join the 63,000 following we have here on Facebook. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Leo Haggerty, Blake Anthony, Philip Schwegler, and, of course, Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavor. So what's one of your keys in this half? Go back to the tight end situation. They ran that double tight end. They had a screen pass to Howard for 30 yards. Looked like he was going to score on it. That's how I think you have to attack this team at this point, especially if you're not able to do those long routes by your wide receivers, because they're long developing, and that puts more pressure on the offensive line to protect Winston, and they haven't been able to do that in the first half of the game.
Yeah, 2 things on offense. 1, find a way to formation the Carolina Panthers into single coverage somewhere and then go to it. 2nd, they need to figure out a way to get Winston some time. Even if it's keep max protection, a back and a tight end in, do that. On defense, they've got to keep pressuring the quarterback. Vita Vea is eating up double teams.
Oh, God.
Sue is eating up double teams. They got to get pressure off the edge because those guys in the middle are constantly
doing their job.
They're shrinking the pocket.
You see Carl Nassib get in there a little bit. We haven't seen Shaq. Seen Shaq a couple of times. More Carl Nassib, which is what I wanted to see from him. What's one of your keys in the second half of this game?
For keys for the second half for success, you definitely gotta buy some time. That's obvious. That's in any case in the game. You gotta protect the quarterback, keep him upright. You just gotta get creative on offense. As Leo said, they're coaching us again. They were ready. They knew we were gonna try to force feed Mike the ball early, which I said go against. But it happened, and they caused a turnover out of it. They know we're not going vertical. I've seen Miller out of there, but he's getting beat up by the corner out there, and it's becoming a non-factor. You got to find ways to beat whatever their game plan is and get over top of them.
Phil Schwegler.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think they need to make a change with Vernon Hargreaves in the second half.
Oh, Lord.
Start Ryan Smith. Put somebody else out there. They're picking on Vernon Hargreaves. The Carolina Panthers are.
Well, and I'll get back to you, Alex, in a minute, but according to various sources, The Cardinals have been called about Patrick Peterson. The Cardinals are not trading him. So you wonder if Jason Light is making those calls at this point, Alex Fleming. But what's one of your keys to the second half of this game for the Bucs to win?
Slow down Carolina by switching out tight ends. Play a six-man front with the offensive linemen and switch out tight ends. Different packages for different coverages. Godwin on one side, Evans on the other. Bring in Darrell Wangale. Have some pass protection. So that way Ronald Jones can either run the football, they can play action, you have an extra blocker in, and with the rotating tight ends, keep the linebackers on their toes.
All right, there you go. So that's your halftime show here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. For Leo Haggerty, for Blake Anthony, for Philip Swagler, for Alex Fleming, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy in the background. We'll see you later. Enjoy the second half of Bucs versus the Panthers on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, because we're giving you something to think about.
Go
see
Bucs.
We're now in the
Life's a Beach Realty. We're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast. Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand. Every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
In the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, the Sports Web, live here at Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete as the Bucs fall to 2-4. They lose to the Carolina Panthers 37-26, and let's just get it out of the way. 7 sacks, 7 turnovers. You're not going to win many ball games if you turn over the ball.
You're not going to win any ball.
Not even a peewee.
Any.
Just terrible. I know that there's a lot of fans out there and their frustration with Jameis Winston. He can't make these type of decisions, but when your offensive line continues to be a turnstile for defensive players of the Panthers, I don't know what to say at this point. It's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's a shame, but the worst thing is we knew what this was going to happen.
Yeah.
When you replace 2 linemen next to each other. I mean, it's not like you're placing the right guard and left tackle where you can maybe compensate. You're placing the right tackle and the right guard. And again, God love those guys for stepping in, but this is the NFL. They will take it. They're like sharks in the water. When they see blood and they smell blood, they're coming, and they saw it, and they just kept coming and coming. And give Carolina credit.
Yeah.
They saw it, and they took advantage of it.
And again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the legend himself, Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions at Sports Mag, Mr. Blake Anthony, Buck and Blake Sports, Mr. Alex Fleming of Fantasy and Flavors, Mr. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Best of the Bay columnist. We got Philip Schwagler in the back, full press coverage, and all the fans here live at Fergs. And with all that being said, the Bucs still had a chance to win the game. You have a turnover by Bobo Wilson. For me, what I learned today is Bobo Wilson is not the answer as a punt returner, but this team has far more problems than just a punt returner. We talked about it. Once again, Jameis Winston with his statistics, 30 for 54, 399 yards, 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions. Just not going to get it done. And then on top of that, it looked like the Bucs missed some opportunities right before the half with Mike Evans with the deep pass dropping the pass. And then and it looked like in the fourth quarter he had an opportunity once again. It was Mike Evans, and you said this off the air, was he stopping on his routes, especially that last interception? It looks like he's stopping on his routes for some reason.
I think me and Michael Irvin said the same thing on the last 50-50 ball that he should have caught over the corner that caught that pick on Godwin. He's slowing his routes down for some reason. When I'm not understanding what is he doing. He should have high pointed that ball and made that catch. And then it looked like on the last ball, clock's running down. You have no timeouts. Of course, it's a jump ball situation. He's running a route like he was expecting the ball to go to somebody else. Scotty Miller? No, I don't think so.
And when the quarterback points at you and go, you, go long. That's going to tell you I'm going to throw a jump ball.
I had no sense of urgency to go get that ball at all.
And then, let's be fair, Winston has the opportunity to connect with Miller later on in the game, and he misses him by 10 or 15 yards. It's like 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Your defense gives you back the ball. Your offense can't sustain. And the defense, look, they had 2 sacks today, but they really didn't do anything either. I mean, Shaq Barrett has been a missing man on a milk carton the last 2 games. Why? Because the whole NFL is caught up to him. They're double and triple teaming him. Hello, somebody has to step up. And it was Nassib and maybe a couple other players.
Yeah, but I'm putting this one on the offensive coaching staff. The most uncreative play. Now, last week we played the New Orleans Saints. They have undoubtedly, I think, one of the top 5 defensive lines in the NFL. Today we're playing a Carolina defensive line, but we showed that maybe last week was as much an emphasis of how bad our offensive line was as opposed to how great their D-line was. But no coach, no calling of plays to take advantage of the aggressiveness or the lack of offensive line blocking. Screen passes, outside runs, anything. Does the Bruce Arians, Byron Leftwich offense not have any kind of an offense that can adjust for a quick rush? Or is it no risk it, no biscuit, but if you can't do it?
Well, I mean, Cameron Brate showed up in this game, right, Alex? O.J. Howard had a couple catches, but Cameron Brate had a touchdown. And, much was made about O.J. Howard possibly being traded at this point. I don't know if I'm ready to trade a 24-year-old tight end, but if you're not going to be able to use him right, and it looks like Cameron Brate is basically the best tight end that you have on this team, what are you doing here?
You have Tanner Hudson. You really don't need OJ. OJ is better at catching baseballs than footballs, apparently. Trade OJ while his value's still high. Fix the offensive line. My goodness, they were atrocious. Carolina Panthers, the last 4 weeks, 8 sacks. Arizona, 6 sacks. Houston, 5 sacks. Jacksonville, 7 sacks. Tampa Bay.
And that's the story. And I know there's fans out there that are ready to say, throw Winston out. He's not a franchise quarterback. I don't know when you guys are going to get it, but you need to get it right now, okay? We're live on the sports web. This franchise does not know how to build an offensive line around a quarterback. Steve Young is gone. Vinny Testaverde was gone. Chris Chandler was gone. Trent Dilfer was gone. All those quarterbacks benefited from other places. Why? Because you build a line. Look, you lose DeMar Dotson coming into the game. You lose Alex Kappa. I think this is on coaching also, like Ray said. Why are you not shipping tight ends? Why are you not shipping running backs to help on that right side? Because you have Gerald McCoy who
got off this game.
Sacks,
got off.
Right, against backups at this point.
That was us on offense. You're absolutely right. I said all they did was rush 4. They didn't have to blitz us. The 4 beat 5. They beat 6. They beat 7. And they got pressure on Winston all game long. We didn't take advantage of it. If they're going to give you if they're going to play off 10 to 11 yards, take the 5. Take whatever they give you. Don't play into their scheme. You don't have time to drop back on a 7-step drop and get that ball vertical to your players. You maybe get it, 5 times you had opportunity to do that this game? Right. And some of those he had to scramble for his life. We play into the defense's game plan sometimes, and I think we outthink ourselves.
And then speaking of outthinking yourselves and taking what you're given, What is that interception with Winston throwing it across the middle with Luke Kuechly? There's nothing there. That's where you have to eat the ball or maybe slide or throw the ball away. He throws it, and Luke Kuechly's right there. I'm just.
He didn't see Kuechly. Let's be honest. Kuechly started on the left edge.
But
Came all the way back to the right.
Game.
Yeah.
He did the same thing the first game.
Absolutely. And what happened was Kuechly left the guy he was supposed to cover. He said, okay, fine, I'm going to sit here. And Winston didn't see him because he was coming for the receiver that way. And the receiver was open. He had a guy behind him. That's open in the NFL. Just throw it low, let him go down and catch it. But, we got to give the guys who are getting paid on the other side of in the different color uniforms. Luke Kuechly is a buck killer. He's a buck killer.
Yeah.
And again, I got a feeling Luke Kuechly is in the back of his mind saying, hey, you passed on me in the draft. I'm going to show you every time we play you
for Mark Barron.
What you're missing.
I don't know what you say with defensively with, Vernon Hargreaves and Carlton Davis. I mean, Vernon Hargreaves still getting beat. It doesn't matter if it's a big wide receiver or not, but you're not getting to the passer, and you look at the numbers for Kyle Allen, 20 for 32, 227, 2 touchdowns.
I mean, when they go on this bye week, they need to reassess their corners. They need to reassess their defensive line. Who's going to be the playmaker now that Shaq Barrett has been discovered by other opposing offensive lines? They really need to figure out, is Vernon Hargreaves playing better on the outside, or will he play better in the slot where he was actually having success last season? Yep. You know what I mean? You have Jamel Dean he was healthy today, but they didn't really put him in. They put him in after Carlton Davis came out. Why not give the guy a chance?
Yeah, and somebody says, well, you Peter, why don't you stop loving on the loser quarterback? I think I've made this clear. He can't make those decisions. So, once again, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. You cannot make those decisions. But once again, rinse and repeat. When you're not giving a quarterback time, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Johnny Unitas, whoever it is, if you're not giving that quarterback time to throw the ball and make decisions, you're going to force him into making turnovers.
And it's almost a damn if you do, damn if you don't, Peter. Let's just say Winston just throws those balls in the dirt like he did later after the second interception. Right. Then it's this, he's not taking any chances. He's not trying to get the ball down the field. And then when he does do that, then it's, he's trying to do too much. So which one is it?
I would rather have Jameis Winston than Baker Mayfield. No heart, no compassion. Nope. You can see he was beat. He went down like a punk. At least Jameis Winston took chances to try to get his team back in the game. By the way, he's not responsible for Bobo fumbling the punt return.
Oh, yeah.
He's darn sure not responsible for the missed catch from Mike Evans, which looked like a pretty good pass to me, Ray Cummings. And he's definitely not responsible for the corners getting beat badly.
And again, what you're watching is the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here at Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Whether we're going to watch the Tampa Bay
Peter,
Lightning.
can we put this out right away?
Don't do it, Leo.
Let's put this dumpster fire. Let's put this dumpster fire out right now. Okay, understand two things, ladies and gentlemen. Do not judge a team by a Monday night, a Sunday night, a Thursday night, or a game in England or Mexico. There's too many variables that change. And secondly, get comfortable. Number 3 is going to play every snap of every play, 16 games, because they're going to have
as long as Arians is here.
They got to find out if he's the guy.
And people say start Ryan Griffin.
For what?
Ryan Griffin right now. Is Ryan Griffin the answer? He's never taken.
Does he play offensive line?
In the NFL.
Does he play offensive line? Because that's what we need is an offensive line, right? Ryan Griffin, left tackle.
Put in Peter Griffin at this point. He's still going to get hit if you're not giving him more than 3 to 5 seconds to throw the ball. I don't understand this.
I don't want to be the one to say it. I'm thinking they're just saying start Ryan Griffin because he's more pleasing to the eyes. Stop it.
Again, 7 turnovers. It was a bad day for Jameis Winston.
It's a bad day for everybody.
He was not helped by this offensive line.
And I'm going to go back, ladies and gentlemen. Go to Leo's postulate number 1, and I will repeat this until I'm dead because it is something you got to understand. When any NFL quarterback can throw it where he wants to, when he wants to, and who he wants to, you're losing the football game. And I can't overemphasize SAT word, semi.
Sure.
I can't overemphasize that fact. That is just what's happening now. The Bucs aren't getting enough pressure on the quarterback to make him. Yeah, they had a couple sacks, but they're not making him uncomfortable. Winston was uncomfortable the whole game, and we saw what happened.
Yeah, from start to finish. And speaking of throwing it to people, who are we going to get for our third receiving option? That seems like O.J. Howard's on a milk carton right along with Brashad Perriman. Scotty Miller's working his way onto that. Watson.
Not Bobo Wilson. What's
Bobo
happened to
Wilson?
Justin Watson?
Justin
Guys,
Watson.
Can I throw this out? In the base defense, remember when they split Howard out and all of a sudden it became a cover 4 and everybody backed off?
Yeah.
And we're sitting there going, that's a 10-yard gift, and that's all he did. Now,
Take it.
why are they not doing that more? Is forcing teams to play cover 4.
Yeah.
Well, they're not doing that because they're not efficiently running the football. If you're going to split him out wide and all I have to do is bring a safety up or play nickel coverage, okay, fine. That's the time you exploit the run. The problem, Peyton Barber's Pac-Man. The second you touch him, he goes down.
Ouch.
Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, you want to add to that there?
Well, I could see us having Lynn Swan, Jerry Rice, or Mike Irvin as our third receiver. But the problem is if Winston's on his ass before he gets to step 3, it don't matter who we got at 3. And you guys saw on the on that coverage of that game, Jameis is walking to the line, and before snap, he's already cheating right with his looks because he's still having nightmares from last week in New Orleans. Got to fix the O-line, or we might as well just stop this right now.
Yeah, and what you're watching right now is the evolution of Sports Talk Television, live here on Bucs Report, live from Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue in St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Leo Haggerty, Blake Anthony, Alex Fleming, and, of course, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Thanks to Philip Schwegler for hanging out with us here. I want to read some of these comments, but, I mean, it's just basically at this point, Tampa Bay gave the game away. Couldn't agree more. Whole team was bad. I think that's a good –
That's true.
That's a true statement.
That's true.
They were bad.
And the other part is we're getting predictable on offense. That's it. We're not going vertical. They're just going to be sitting underneath, waiting for those underneath throws.
Sure.
Got nobody that's a threat vertical. I mean, if you want to call Mike Evans a deep threat, I mean, if you get him in one-on-one, he just throw 50-50 balls. But Scotty Miller still hasn't shown me that he belongs in the NFL at this point. He fumbled 2 balls on getting simple tackles.
Somebody says, I'm done supporting Winston. His line is no good, but a few of those bad passes were on him. I agree, but when you're throwing the ball, 54 times a game, you're going to have some bad passes. This is exactly what we talked about with this offense. You had to have balance to it. I think they gave up on the running game or wasn't successful enough.
You don't throw it 54 times if you're winning. Let's be honest.
Right.
You just got to understand the dynamics of professional football. If you have the lead, you are playing the clock, not your opponent on the other side of football. The Buccaneers got my first key was get the lead. What happens? Boom, interception right out of the gate. They're down 3-0. Now they're playing catch up. Not a good thing.
Let me ask you guys something.
Yeah.
Do you guys believe at least the first one play, if not 10 or 15, is scripted? And you think the news this week that Jameis making a thing about we got to get Evans the ball? You don't think throwing to Evans on that pass in the first
I believe
play?
before we got off before the pregame, I says I am not a believer in force feeding anybody the ball.
You don't think the Panthers were in a pregame meeting or on the plane?
They
heading
were
over to England
prepared.
saying
They were
cover?
prepared for that screen.
They were prepared for Evans,
They were
though.
prepared to go to Evans early. They were
Yeah,
prepared.
But we were going to Evans that first catch, and Carolina had him double down. We get the interception. Now, it was a good play. It was a good play, but that was that's the kind of coaching decisions I'm talking about. That's bad coaching.
Yeah,
And again, if it's scripted, and I don't know if it is or it isn't. I think it is because I asked Arians, do you script the first 20? He said 15. So I think this is scripted. Now, does Winston have the ability and the green light to change the play? That's the question we got to ask. Because you could see that Carolina had rolled its coverage over to Evans.
And here's the statistic here, Bucs fans. He's the only Bucs quarterback to throw for 100 touchdowns. Also, at 25 years old, he is in the names of Marino, Manning, Stafford, and Bledsoe. The only quarterbacks at 25 years old that have done that. One of the youngest quarterbacks to throw for 100 touchdowns. And yet, what are we talking about here? People are saying get rid of Winston, start Griffin. Again, it's a team game. You look at his statistics comparable to Tom Brady. the fact of the matter is Tom Brady has a lot more around him. He's an offensive line that keeps him clean. He has a defense that can stop somebody, and, of course, the balance of the running game. I'm not comparing the two, but the numbers are very comparable. He's still young at this point. Somebody says, well, you've got 5 years of tape. How much do you need? Well, compare the coaching to what you've had here. You finally have a decent coach in Bruce Arians, and you're learning a new system.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
you
Wait a
don't
minute.
have
Wait a minute.
5 years of
All right,
tape.
How long did it take Bradshaw to win a Super Bowl? Better yet, Jim Plunkett. They gave up on him. He went to Oakland and won a couple of Super Bowls. Some people take time.
2 words, Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer. It's a lot easier to succeed when you have an offensive line that can protect you, a secondary that's not rookies or second-year players, Bobo Wilson and other people on special teams not turning over the football, and smart football decision plays.
It's about mental mistakes, and it goes back to Tony Dungy, who coached this team and got this team out of the doldrums. He said it best: don't kill yourself, and don't commit those mental mistakes. And they continue to do that and shoot themselves in the foot.
Well, there's where fans. I'm going to speak for you guys out there, the fans, because I'm sure as heck speaking for myself. There's where the frustration comes in. Best ability is availability. I always like Donovan Smith, but to re-sign Donovan, you got Alex Kapler, you got DeMar Dotson on the right side.
Right.
In 6 years, we've not seen Jason Licht build an offensive line yet. For 5 years, we've had a quarterback that's still statistically one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. But you can't do it if you can't get. I mean, from the very get-go, a lot of his stuff today was catch-up. A lot of stuff last week. But the lack of offensive line development is what frustrates Buccaneer fans the most.
That's it. And when you continue to just overlook it and not draft it in the first couple rounds, when's the last time the Bucs have drafted a first-round offensive lineman? Nobody can tell you.
I can answer that.
Paul Gruber.
No. Davin Joseph.
Davin Joseph. How long ago was that? There's your problem right there.
Wasn't that, 12, 13 years ago?
What you're watching right now, would you shut up? What you're watching right now is the Sports Web live here at Fergs. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, Leo Haggerty. Of course.
Is it time to bury this thing or what?
I'm not sure if it's time to bury this thing yet, but I know there's a lot of people. Some people said, well, folks, look forward to the draft. They're 2-4.
No, I mean bury this
To the
game.
draft.
I mean, it's
You got to. You don't have a choice. You can't dwell on it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's
you're not. The season's not over.
Since it was such a sour game, you can have something sweet with Carlton's Grand Jerky. Very soft, chewy, spicy. Add some brown sugar to your life. Unless you don't like brown. No pun intended.
Well,
is that Jameis Winston again? We're talking about Ryan. Okay.
And let's see here. Lo J says it's obvious that the panel is full of Jameis apologists. Yeah, we're apologizing, but we've also said at the beginning.
Well, I'm not saying what you want us to say.
Right, you can't make those decisions over and over again. I'm just amazed.
Okay, let's just put it out right there.
I don't understand
Jameis Winston threw bad passes today. About 2 of them were on him. One was tipped from behind. Evans should have went up and got one. I don't know what else. What do you want? I said he threw some bad passes. Some of it was his fault. Some of it wasn't his fault. But we're not going to sit up here and say that he was the problem the entire game. If you watch the game, you know that's not entirely true.
And excuse my French, but there's no excuse for a half-assed effort. No. You're getting paid big bucks. Play 60 minutes. Don't play 58 and a half.
And that's the thing. He gives 110% when he plays. You can see he has more energy than some of the people that are out there. They giving up.
I'm going to read some more of these comments. Build it, and they were blocked. Ralph says Winston is a loser forever.
With this franchise, possibly.
To be a returner, not Bobo. Excuses. And one racist commentary that wasn't racist, but hey, he put it out there. There are people in this community that are Florida Gator fans that do not want to see this quarterback succeed. They just don't want to see him succeed. There's nothing racist about. He's calling you out.
Oh, being a racist.
What did you say?
Well, because you didn't like the look of the quarterback. I think that's what you said.
Oh, I got
it.
Okay. That's a safe space.
I agree. This offensive line just bad. We need a new GM. You're not going to fire Jason Licht. People are kind of going overboard. I get it.
Nobody gets fired this season. No,
right.
Bobo's gone. I'm kidding.
Well,
maybe. Yeah, maybe. But nobody
agree on that.
Again, I said if they can get through to November 10th and they're 4-5 after that,
survive in October.
It's okay. They've got 5 home games.
Yeah.
But again, you talk about this team. This is considered a home game. That's not good.
That's not home.
Not good. You know, and
that's only because of the Super Bowl bid, but
yeah, and
that was part of the bargain.
Yeah, and that's the Bucs should have never agreed to be in the home
Ben
team.
Cornett, I got this one too. Came in fresh from South Dakota. I think it's hours old.
Ben,
You're welcome.
Ben just trolling at 1,000 at this
Ben
point.
goes
What
ham.
you're watching right now is the Sports Web, a live edition of the post-game shows. The Bucs fall to 2-4. They lose to the Carolina Panthers 37-26. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Leo Haggerty, Blake Anthony, Alex Fleming, and, of course, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy.
Hey, guys, can I just throw something in here?
Yes, sure.
Buccaneer fans are resilient. We've ended many a season saying next year. Leo, you're right. Just about time to put this one behind us. And it's a bye week, and that's why it hurts a little bit more, because the Saints game left a really bad taste. Today's left a taste of, missed chances. Yeah. We have a bye week now. Then we congregate back against the Tennessee Titans.
Gonna be some change
it hurts a little more, but it's almost time.
Yeah. You keep on hearing, no excuses for Winston, no excuses. I don't think it's an excuse. If you watch football.
It's a reality.
Right. You have to see and you have to watch the offensive line and if they're giving him time or not. If they're not giving him time at this point, as Alex Fleming is going outside there to take care of something, if you don't protect the quarterback and give him enough time at this point, then basically he's not going to have time to throw the ball, and he's going to commit those turnovers, and that's why you put an emphasis on pressure situations where you want to get pressure on the quarterback.
Well, that's part of the whole thing. You got to pressure the quarterback. We're getting pressured, and we're not pressuring people, and we're getting destroyed in the secondary. I did say I wanted to see if the secondary could hold him under 200 yards passing. We almost did. We gave up, 227, I believe. But it was also 6-7 turnovers entirely for the team, but ultimately cost us in this game. But it's a rough loss, Peter. We just need to move on. Bruce Arians said the other thing that's not like with Dirk Cutter here, there's going to actually probably be some changes coming in this bye week on this roster.
I like this text here. If you give Jameis a good O-line, a good defense, he'll be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Well, you saw how he looks when he's protected.
Right.
Night and day. Not protected, crap, protected, gold.
I mean, it just over and over again, you just wonder if this franchise could build a line around him. What could he do? But once again, let me repeat this. Winston is making bad decisions still. He can't do that. The Luke Kuechly throw is not good. The first throw, he's trying to fit it into a tight window. That's not good. And you missed some deep passes today, which he's got to improve on. But when you're feeling the pressure all the time, and you know this from coaching, if a young quarterback gets enough pressure on him, then you start to get into his head, and then he starts to see ghosts. Go ahead and explain that.
You understand that if you can get pressure early on an NFL quarterback, especially if it's coming from the blind side, he'll start seeing ghosts. He'll start feeling things that aren't there. And I don't know if we saw that today, but what we did see was just a brutalization of Jameis Winston in terms of getting hit. And the sacks that he didn't take because he was able to get away.
It should have been more.
I mean, they should have had 10 sacks or more. It was it was a shame actually watching this.
And here's the thing about Jameis again. I want to say this.
What was the stat at halftime? 13 hits, 18 passes.
Right, and everyone was calling for Jameis's job. Let me tell you all something. Jameis's only flaw is that he's such a gamer. He doesn't know exactly yet when to give up. And I know 5 years in, but he's been in three different offensive positions or coordinators. It's hard. I understand why 5-year development shouldn't be considered an exact 5 year, but Jameis still is in the tops in statistics or near the top. He's still a gamer. I still love his arm. I still love his game, but he's got to just continue to learn when to say no on a play, throw it. Like you were saying, Aaron Rodgers. I think it was you or was it Phil? Aaron Rodgers last year.
Most negative plays.
Most negative yards
right.
Because he knows 1 out of 2 plays he'll throw it down, but the next one he'll find Donald Driver.
Right.
That's the difference.
Let me read this text from Tony Rossi. Winston's entire career, he hasn't had a good line.
Now, or a good defense.
He's adapted and even at times succeeded. There's no excuses for 6 turnovers in one game.
No.
I agree, but to say that it's all
on him
because he's never had a good line, so when you have pressure coming from everywhere, and you could see it on the game. They're coming from the right side. They're coming after him. They know that they got backups in there, and there's just no stopping it. There's no adjustments by the coaching staff. There's no chipping of tight ends. There's no chipping of running backs. There was just not enough in this game.
I know everybody keeps saying, oh, it's always the same Bucs and the same Winston or whatever, but look at the things that are always the same.
Yeah.
It's no protection, no defense. You get put behind in games early, so you give up on the run, forced to throw 50, 60 times. Now you're putting yourself at risk with more picks or more chances to throw error throws and get a turnover. Those are the things that are always the same, but we haven't fixed them. We're not fixing this secondary and getting after the quarterback, making other people uncomfortable, being a top 10 defense. We're stopping the run, but we haven't really been that bad at stopping the run in previous years. It's been the same thing. We're giving up a buttload in the air.
Yeah, nearly both receivers go over 100 yards at this point of receiving. You stop McCaffrey, but the turnovers killed you. And like we came in on the sports web here, you can't turn over the ball 7 times and win, and you can't let your quarterback get sacked 7 times and win. It all works in conjunctions, and in the 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, all in conjunction today, working right. You had Wilson with the fumble.
But by the way,
yeah,
I saw the fastest 20-yard dash in the world about 5 minutes ago. I tell you what, you still got it, big dog.
Yeah.
You still got it.
Don't let the size fool you. This engine runs. Now, no, I didn't get that ticket.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, let's give credit where credit is due. 7 sacks from the Carolina defense. Brian Burns from Florida State has been quite nice. Gerald McCoy came back for the revenge game, and he didn't disappoint. They were going after the ball. They were going after strips. They were opportunistic. They got an interception off of the first pass of the play. They had 2 fumbles. They tried for 3, 7 sacks, and a couple of interceptions. So, yes, Jameis had a bad game. Congratulations. Maybe give a little bit of credit to the Carolina defense. Just a little.
And the preparation.
Just a little.
I mean, it's amazing. If the fan base thinks so very little of Winston, then why do you expect so much?
Or of any of the quarterbacks that have left this roster. And most of them have won Super Bowls.
Hey, guys.
Do you really think Marcus Mariota would have been a better pick?
No.
I mean, really. I mean,
hey, before I get off, though, I want to say, and it's off the subject entirely. First off, to the staff here at Fergs, those breakfast sandwiches and those breakfasts we had, off the chain.
Yeah, that sandwich was legit.
They were good.
Yes,
Secondly,
and I had no vegetables in my eggs.
Yeah, he did. We stuck them in.
No vegetables. Secondly, if you're out there, if you're with somebody or in somebody's location and you've heard any of this show and you like it, go to Facebook, like Bucs Report, like Peter Blake, like the Sports Web, like Ray Kennedy, because we're all about you. We're here for you, having a good time.
There you go. Good stuff. All right. So once again, the Bucs fall to 2-4 at the bye week. We won't be here next week. Sorry to say.
Need a break.
We're going to take a little break, but we'll be back, and they're going to be facing the Tennessee Titans and the Seattle Seahawks, which another 2 road games, and then after that, this team mercifully comes home.
And the nice thing is, guys, I'll be calling in for that show from Seattle.
What? You can't get us no tickets, Leo?
Game.
Really?
Selfish right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You will be. So we'll have that phone line up. So with that being said, we'll read some more comments, and then I think we're going to call it a day here. I'm curious to see what Max Kellerman has to say tomorrow on First Take. Of course, Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith saying that Winston is not a bust. He's played well. And now after this 5-interception performance, you're wondering now if they're going to go back and say he's a bust.
So I'm just saying, a four games you play well and then you play bad 1 washes out the 4. I don't think so. You're not going to play excellent all 16 games.
It's a fickle media.
They want to think that Winston's interception is habitual because what they've seen over the last 4 years is going to continue to happen. What happened the second year? 9-7, but you hear crickets. His numbers are good except for the interceptions. He needs to have better decision-making. You know what helps with decision-making? An offensive line and timing.
And a running back.
And let's be really honest here, ladies and gentlemen. This team isn't good enough to overcome a bad performance by their quarterback.
Nope.
It's just not there yet.
No.
So Winston has to play well every game. That's a lot to ask of anybody.
Check this out. Everybody was ready to crown Jared Goff just a year ago. until today, Jared Goff led the league in interceptions with no running game, and their offensive line is in the bottom 5 in the league. Funny how a quarterback changes that much when those two intangibles are gone.
Yeah.
No line, no running back. Goff is the worst in the league until today.
Go back to this point.
Funny how that changes.
Right, but if you compare the numbers to the first 4 years of these great quarterbacks, they're comparable. The only difference is the wins and losses. Well, wins and losses comes with the organization being able to build a team around him, build an offensive line, get a running game, get a defense. It's not all on one player. You put it all on one player, then this is what you get. You get a quarterback that's thrown more than 50 times and has turnovers.
And if I may, someone took a shot at my credibility, so let me give you something back.
Don't do it.
Jameis Winston, not good this year. You say he's trash and he's garbage. Let's look at the other quarterbacks in the NFC South.
Baker Mayfield?
Cam Newton, hurt, injured. He needs to be traded. He's gone. Kyle Allen, now he's 5-0 as a starter. He won one last year. Drew Brees goes down. Oh, no, the sky's falling for New Orleans. Teddy hasn't lost a game yet. He's beating the Jags right now. Oh, and last but not least, your homeboy, Matt Ryan. Yeah, the clean-cut one, 1-4.
I mean, and what does it come down to with Matt Ryan? Not a great offensive line,
no running game,
and you have no defense at all that can stop anybody.
Well, you know what, though? I'm sorry. The positive, though, Leo, you make a good point about the team not being good enough to overcome a bad performance, but yet we do have hope this year because this team has had success. It's just not coming consistently enough to put the wins together. So there's hope. Let's not get, completely down.
3 words. Los Angeles Rams. I think that was a win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to clean this up because I asked Bill Muir, for you people who are not Bucs fans, way, way, way back. Bill Muir was the offensive line coach. After a bad game, I asked Bill Muir, can you be a good offense without a good offensive line? Expletive to lead it? No. I said, you got to be able to run the football to be a good offensive line, correct? He said, absolutely. So, it all starts and stops in the trenches. Can you run the ball? Can you stop the run? If you can't do either one of those, you're not winning at this level.
Do you think Tom Brady would win with this offensive line?
I don't think Jesus Christ could play behind this offensive line.
Well,
I mean, let's.
Instead of Jesus, it's more like Moses. You're parting the Red Sea with the offensive line.
Yeah, he'd
and
have
everybody's
to.
coming on.
Yeah,
like an all-you-can-eat
I mean,
buffet.
I think Winston thought his first name was Moses. I mean, or there was people coming through.
You shall pass.
Well, I mean, there's nobody that can pass at that point because here's a guy that's trying to run for his life and
that's what he did.
The pocket, and he's getting hit from both sides.
I think one play, he got touched by every defensive lineman scrambling in the pocket and managed to get out of there somehow.
Yeah.
And managed to get away. As you said earlier, it should have been over 10 sacks. It should have easily been over 10 sacks. By the grace of goodness, he managed to find a way to get out and make something out of nothing.
And can we remind Walt Anderson of one thing? If you hit the quarterback in the head, it is a penalty in the NFL.
I don't even want to get into that.
The refs gone blind on this because
Only
I've seen
Tampa
this
Bay.
2 years. I mean, 2 years. It seems like 2 years.
Yeah.
2 games in a row where Winston is getting hit in the helmet. They're not calling the play. They're supposed to be protecting the quarterback. Yet you look around the NFL, you see plenty of quarterbacks getting hit. They're not even getting hit in the helmet. They're getting hit low, and they're still calling the flag. There's no consistency.
I'm inspired. I'm going to work it back to that Moses reference, Blake. And I like, for this Buccaneer run defense, I like the nickname the Red Sea. Because if you don't part it, you ain't going to run through it. And the Red Sea will make your running game the Dead Sea. I like that, the Red Sea.
Nice.
A little poetry.
We're live here.
I think on that note, it's time for me to get off.
Yeah.
Mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa.
We're live here at Fergs, 1320 Central Avenue on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Mr. Blake Anthony, Alex Fleming, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, and the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member who's forgotten more football than most of us all know. He's like the grandfather I never had.
I got little Leo today with some history
And I'm old
lessons.
enough to be his grandfather.
That's it. There you go. So, Leo Haggerty, give me your final thoughts.
Don't jump off the Skyway Bridge, please.
Relax.
The team has been competitive in every game but today. They could very easily be 5-1. They could very easily be 1-5. Understand, it's a work in progress. Are you looking at the team now and saying they were better than last year. Absolutely. Let's get them go. Let them run the course and see.
I got a comment here. I'm going to read it to
Don't
Alex.
do it.
I think Tom Brady sold his soul to the devil so he could win.
It's a cult.
Back up.
It's a cult.
Go ahead, Blake Anthony. Jeremiah, I don't know.
I'm with Leo. The world, the sky's not falling. We're 2-4. You can dig yourselves back out. Expect changes coming out of the bye week. That's all I got.
Yeah, and then somebody says next draft, if looking for a good lineman, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, Alabama, might
get them all.
Them looking.
I will say this: if you breathe on Tom Brady wrong, it's a flag. I've seen so many penalties against defensive players for just touching Tom Brady.
Or even not touching. Ask about the Kansas City game last year when the guy goes by and doesn't touch him. Here comes the flag.
I think
swear
Terrell Suggs said it best.
Robert Kraft must have naked pictures of Goodell doing something.
He just holds it up.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty.
And then the hit they make on the Buffalo quarterback, and nothing's done about it.
How do you hit Josh Allen and concuss him and then
out.
have it on offsetting plays? If that had been Tom Brady, one of those players would have been ejected.
No, he'd have been expelled from the league.
He would have got the perfect rule done forever.
Perfect.
He'd have been on the XFL draft list.
That knucklehead. Exactly. That knucklehead has done that many times. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. You're being quiet back there. I got to get
He's
last
still
thought?
Moses.
Yes,
Last
go ahead,
thought?
Moses.
All right. Like a man walking through the desert, a glass of water feels so sweet when you're so thirsty. The Buccaneers are going to win, and I was talking to Andre and his beautiful girlfriend Stephanie today, maybe his wife.
He was
Both
looking a
football
little too hard,
players.
though.
Andre, a college player, and then Stephanie with the LFL. And we were talking about the fact that I don't know how we remain Buccaneer fans, they said. And I said, you know why? Because for a team that goes through so much losing or suffering, the winning becomes so much sweeter. It's coming, people. 4 losses. 12-4 is not off the table
Not
yet.
over.
It's going to take a hell of a run. We got a lot of home games at the end of this year. Let's not get too pessimistic yet.
We'll see what happens here. But again, they're 2-4. They're going into the bye week at the perfect time. They got to come out of this. They got to make some adjustments. But an ugly loss by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they fall to 2-4, losing to the Carolina Panthers 37-26. For the great Leo Haggerty, for Blake Anthony, for Alex Fleming, for Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy and Philip Schwegler, live from Fergs, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. We'll see
you in 2 weeks.
Get the Red Sea trending.
OJ's traded.
Soft and spicy.
Yeah, but what about the turkey?
Oh, God.
Jesus Christ.
In the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast. Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.